Yo, 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 what's up? Welcome to another edition of Big Freaking Friday show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my partners and also co-hosts. They do everything I do. I just, and the guy gets to talk all the time. Ute and Moen, how you guys doing tonight?
Happy freaking Friday. Happy Big Freaking Friday. Can't wait for the show today. Notre Dame topic. Let's go.
If I was
Notre Dame in there, you're good.
If I was any better, you'd have to call the authorities, Nate.
Oh, I won't do that today. That's for another time. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. It looks like we've got a lot of people in chat, so this should be fun. You guys make sure to follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and get involved with what we're doing around here. We always answer video questions all the time. Not everyone, but we answer them all the time. And we really do this for you, not necessarily for us, even though sometimes we do get preachy. I appreciate everybody being here and following us on our different shows. Ute has been putting out some masterful one-off videos. Ute, what's one of your favorite videos you put out in the last couple of weeks?
I would have to say that it's the video of the Pac-12 schools going to the Big 12 and just doing the analysis on the brands. That's my favorite still. But we've got some good stuff coming out, guys, on Wednesday. Video dropping. Ohio State and Michigan own Fox and CBS. ... Rutgers got one game. There's the title for you. Can't wait to release it. One game.
Wow, one game. That is crazy. How about you, Moen? You've done videos left and right as well. Which is one of your favorite one or two videos?
The one I just released this past Tuesday, the BIVS system, the Big Ten Institutional Value Scorecard. Got a lot of feedback on it. Some good, some people not so happy with the score, but hey, that's what it's going to be. You're never going to please everybody. But yeah, it was really interesting. Look, Florida State, Virginia Tech, those are your two to watch out for. If they get AAU status, I think that's going to be a huge deal.
But AAU is sort of the key to the kingdom for the Big Ten. Even though we are talking about an athletic conference, it does seem to have a big weight on who gets to go and who does not. Really quick, Moen, I will ask you, do you see a trip now of a Florida State-Miami pairing? For a long time, Florida State has been in the DL. Do you think that they can climb their way back if they happen to get on the path to AAU?
Yeah, actually, we did the math, and outside of Notre Dame, Florida State would score the highest if they were AAU.
Okay.
They would have the score higher than Miami, actually. So, and Virginia Tech would score very well. They'd be in, I think, the top 6 if they reached AAU status.
Okay. That's new. That's not one we talked about in the past, so that's interesting. I have to see how time goes, but yeah, if the Big Ten decides to go to 24, it'll basically break college football. So if they decide to do that, the future is going to be definitely different than what we have now. Let's get some headlining news. Let's get to some stuff that's just come out.
Before we start, do you mind if
go ahead.
Jump? There's a comment that I've got to get to because I think it absolutely nail the show down here. Nick Kelso says every time BYU or Utah are mentioned, Moen has to drink. I think that needs to start right now.
I love it. Let's go.
We're starting that right now, baby.
The way these guys talk about their alma maters, you're trying to kill me. I don't think I've got enough liquor on hand.
Yeah, well, we're talking baby sips, maybe spoonfuls. I don't know. It's a good idea, but I think we would kill Moen after just one show, and I don't want to do that. Oh, Moen, don't do that. All right. Let's get to some news and notes. Mitt Winter has been busy the last couple of weeks, but today was especially one of his on days. I'm going to post a link to this. It came off of a Ralph Russo post. Here, let me post the comment so everybody can get to it if they want to look at it. Charlie Baker explains NCAA's flurry of new rules with help from Congress, slow and coming. And Mitt Winter's got it always on. The NCAA is starting to realize an antitrust exemption isn't on the way anytime soon. And that is just that its rules need to comply with the current state of the law. It still has a lot of work to do in this area, but it is generally a good thing. And then Charlie Baker, who's one of my favorite administrators of all time, of anything, with the help from Congress, still uncertain, the NCAA is tackling its own problems. This week, Charlie Baker and the NCAA came out with 3 new rules. I'll bring them up in just a second. NCAA membership is not waiting for others to act, Baker says. College sports is in the midst of a dramatic evolution as amateurism is replaced by athletes. I'll keep going. College sports leaders have pushed Congress, the SCORE Act, for help regulating the new landscape for several years, but that has yet to arrive, leaving the NCAA and conferences vulnerable to antitrust lawsuits and at the mercy of state lawmakers. While Baker acknowledges a federal law is needed, the NCAA has been notably proactive recently. Yes, just in the last week or so. In the past few months, Division I cabinet has briskly advanced 2 major rule changes, and this week initiated discussions on a third. Age-based eligibility standards that could redefine who is allowed to play college sports at the highest levels is one. In an interview with The Athletic, Baker credited the streamlining of Division I governance, fewer and smaller committees with allowing for more nimble and efficient legislative process. We believe that the proposals we've made are consistent with current law. And before I bring up those laws, what are you guys' thoughts about this? One, this action by the NCAA, but just throwing the rule book away and just creating rules, hoping that they'll stick, and what Charlie Baker's trying to do here.
Go ahead, Mon.
Well, I actually agree with the rules. I think the rules are very good rules, but it doesn't matter. This ties into our main story that you're going to get conference governance. The NCAA is done. If they can't get an antitrust exemption, they're worthless to college football. And the conferences will have to govern themselves and, go into their own bunkers, their own vaults, and they'll probably come up with some different rules for each conference, but I think you're going to see more uniform rules between the Big Ten and the SEC as far as how they govern their conferences moving forward.
I've got a question on that, Mo. And so if the Big Ten and the SEC pull away and they create their own silos and they go into cahoots, and then they establish like NIL rules and stuff, so there's no pay for players, capped at certain levels, but then you don't include like the Big 12 and the ACC in that agreement, right? You kind of have like your double silo, like that's been discussed a lot. Why would that be a better system if like you have a school like Texas Tech that's still uncapped and they could pay more for a salary and everything for a player? What makes that system more attractive than going over playing Texas Tech in the Big 12 if they're going to double your pay? So,
well, see, I think I think the thing is, once one of those two moves towards self-governance, everybody's going to try and jump on board, and everybody's going to try and come up with some kind of uniform standard. That way they can continue to play each other.
Yes.
So the Big 12 would probably jump on board with whatever the Big 10 SEC came up with. And that's kind of what Notre Dame's in a lurch right now, because they're an independent. They wouldn't have any governance and,
right,
beyond themselves. So, but yeah, I think conference governance is coming. The SCORE Act's dead. It's not getting passed. I don't think the SAVE Act is getting passed. I don't think any act is getting passed. I think nothing's going to happen between now and November. So, I mean, these conferences have to look out for their own health and future well-being, and I think they're going to move towards a governance structure.
I tried making this bigger. I don't do good when the lettering goes very, very small. So I'm going to read these, and we can talk about it in detail if you'd like. But the 3 rules that have been passed just in the recent past: modernizing pre-enrollment standards. We are requiring prospects to formally withdraw from opt-in professional drafts before entering college, aligning pre-college and post-college rules to ensure those who enter college ranks are committed to the student-athlete path. That's a rule. Restoring transfer integrity. The D1 cabinet fast-tracked and adopted strict new rules addressing gaps in transfer and tampering policies that led to abuse. These changes ensure that the schools will face stiff, and they are stiff, fines and automatic penalties for playing student-athletes who transferred outside of the designated transfer window. So no more cheating, bringing somebody in that hadn't been on somebody else's roster, just bringing them in mid-season. That's no go. And the last one is ensuring fair competition. We advanced a review of age-based eligibility standards, and this is more well known as the 4 for 5 or maybe 5 for 5. You have between your 18 and 22 or 23, outside of a very few exceptions, to play college sports. And if you're outside that window, you've missed your opportunity, essentially. So that's the one I probably struggle with the most, because I don't think there should be anything to do with age or really anything else, in my opinion. I think if you have, as long as you've not used your eligibility in a sport, I think you ought to be able to do it. So what do you guys think about those three new rules?
That seems a little bit off. Any age-based criteria?
Yeah.
Like a 5-year criteria makes sense. I think we can all
Right.
pretty much agree with 5 years, right? But like, hey, like sometimes people don't go to college till later. Like what if a player is overseas or something, a rugby player that wants to play college football in like his 30s, like, and he's never played college before, he's played rugby. Like that seems a little bit off. I think I would like to see a little bit more lax rules for some scenarios and everything. If that's really like the case, and that's how it's going to be.
Moen, what are your thoughts about that?
I like the rule because there are exemptions for what you just mentioned. For religious missions,
there are
service in the armed forces, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be exemptions for people. It's not going to prevent a 28-year-old from playing if, he spent his age 18 to 21 out on a religious mission.
Yeah. I get it. And the mission thing isn't the reason everybody say BYU, you're actually chasing down for your mission people. No, I'm not. The mission is exempt. It has nothing to do with that, in my opinion. It has to do with what Ute said. There is no age to go to college. And trying to restrict this in this very finite time period for kids to play in college sports, I think is just wrong. It goes against what colleges have always been about, and that is opportunity and learning and always doing better. And sometimes you don't do that till you're 25, 26, 27 years old. So I think those, by the way, those rules will be challenged in court, especially the eligibility rule. That will be challenged almost immediately by somebody who missed the window and still wants to play. So Greg Flugar jumps in the house, jumps ahead of everybody else. Appreciate you, Greg. Peek around the corner, $5 super chat says Team Roman, CM Punk limping out of WM. Moen, you want to give us what does that mean?
That means he is on
baby.
team. Yeah, it's Team Roman Reigns versus CM Punk.
Okay.
He is convinced that CM Punk is going to be injured coming out of WrestleMania. I say nay.
Oh.
CM Punk all the way, best in the world.
Do you have any opinion about CM Punk and Team Roman?
I know who CM Punk is, but I can't say that I've watched much, so I would have really bad analysis for you on this.
I've heard the names. That's about all I know. The last wrestlers that I follow they're hobble horses right now, so I'm not sure that anybody would recognize
wrestling.
It
must be a Midwest thing. I think wrestling is really, really popular, right? Like in Midwest.
Yeah,
like in Utah, it's just not that big, man.
No, it isn't. No, BYU back in the day used to be a national power in wrestling. They used to win national championships and other things, but that was 60 years ago. So, Evil Badger, Ryan Willie in the house. I got an update from him. He says that his care slipped a little bit over time, but hopefully he's still going to work towards getting home. That's what we care. We want to support him, do whatever he needs. Cheers for you, Ryan. Thank you so much. And thanks for being a member for how many months, Moen?
26 months.
26 months. Let's go. Let's get that guy a sounder.
We'll play a little on Wisconsin for him. I just had to
that sounds good.
And of course, it's going to play an ad because I booted up the board. I will play on Wisconsin. We'll do it at the end of. We'll do it at the end of all these super chats and member announcements.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. Good to see you, Ryan. Thanks so much for being here. Hi, College Football Mafia. Notre Dame in the Big Ten by 2028. I vote no. That's
could
not going to happen. What do you think? You
probability 50%, 40%, but every year that goes up, it goes up too. by 2030, let's say 2033, it's going to be almost 100%. So it's just what year?
All right. Moen?
I think the sooner they do it, the better it is for them. They've got the most leverage now. They could probably call their own shot on who gets in with them. I think if they wait until they go into their bunkers, they start losing leverage. And it's going to be only a matter of time before they have to make a decision on where they're playing. And whoever that decision is might have already moved on, from
maybe
agreeing to pay them what they think they're worth.
Yeah, maybe. I think Notre Dame's still going to rule the roost. They have their automatic into the playoff now. They have no reason to join anybody. And I still, the bunker thing, I don't really believe in very much. So we'll see, though. I could be totally wrong, and I will admit it when I am. I hope people admit when I'm right, though. They'll tell me the same. Amazing Blue.
Has this financial pinch, too. Can we just talk about the
NBC
contract and everything? From all discussions about this matter, Notre Dame, and Moen, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is Notre Dame is about 65 to 70 million in media rights from NBC. Does that sound right to you?
Well,
it's a sliding scale. So the better they do ratings wise, the more money they make.
And then they make all the money from the ACC as well, right?
They make their ACC money and they get to keep all their playoff money.
Yeah.
So what is Notre Dame's total payout? Too. What's their total payout estimate versus Big Ten estimate?
75, 80.
I think that's a little high.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think probably around 60, 65. Depending on the playoff. If they get into the playoffs, you never know. That's where it radically changes. You get all that playoff money.
Last year they made 2 years ago they made $40 million.
Yeah.
So that's just insane.
They're not going to make as much as the Big Ten teams do. They simply can't.
No, but it's not about when. Are we talking about national championships? Or are we talking about money?
We're talking about money.
Both.
Okay, so everybody knows MMR money goes to everybody. So third-party MMR is now basically uncapped. So it's not a problem paying the players. They're going to get the money to pay the players.
Oh, I just don't think
the money. Everybody gets caught up in how much they're making, in my opinion. I don't think it has anything to do with that. They have a fast track to the playoff. That's what this is about.
Well,
getting into the CFP and winning games.
We'll talk about this a little later. I want to make sure we get to these super chats. But when we talk about the 2014 playoff, I think that's what's going to really push them.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's great conversation. I'm waiting for the playoff talk for sure. Amazing Blue. Go Blue. Come on, Moen. One time. Go Blue.
No.
Member for 18 months. Can we give Michigan Sounder of some sort for Amazing Blue? 18 months. That's rocking, man. By the way, I love it. I love it. I love it. Bring on FSU and Miami, baby. It works best.
Oh my gosh.
So he's cheering for those two to the Big Ten. That would be big. It would be big. Mark Bowman, $10 super chat. Also, Mark's a fantastic, long-standing OG member of the College Football Mafia family. So, as I should shout out, Amazing Blue. And there's so many others here tonight, but I just wanted to make sure that we know Ryan Willie has been a long-standing member. So, we'd like to give credit for those people. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for all you do for us. $10 super chat. If Kirk Ferentz and Iowa had to forfeit 4 wins for an early contact with Cade McNamara, what should the Ole Miss coach get for making a cell phone call to that Clemson player while he was in class? I think you ought to get the hammer, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that, though.
Slap on the wrist because
he's going to get nothing.
They're not going to do anything.
Technically, I think it has And the way it's always been explained to me, it has to do with the eligibility of a player. Since the Ole Miss coach didn't actually coach a game outside of their playoff game, if it occurred after the playoff game, I think that it would not affect the eligibility of the player. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if that might be right. It's possible. We haven't had that one challenged recently, so we would have to see how that went down if they even did it. Greg Flugar again, peek around the corner. Another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Greg. We appreciate you. Make sure everybody follows and joins Peek Around the Corner on YouTube. He does a fantastic job and really helps us around here. Thank you so much, Greg. UFO files dropping very, very soon. Is that like the sky is falling? Very, very soon. Yeah.
Drop those UFO files.
There's a lot of news today that doesn't hurt us. I'll tell you that. LC versus the Earth. I got that right, Moen, right? LC versus the Earth, $5 super chat, and valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. Roman Reigns is a chump who hides behind his family.
Thank you.
Is that true?
Thank you. Yes, he never even would be a star in this business if it wasn't who he was related to.
Who's he related to?
He's The Rock's cousin.
Oh, he is? I didn't know that.
Is he really?
Okay. Yeah.
He's a big dude. I'll say that. He is a big guy. But okay. All right. Bulldog Mississippi in the house. 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Bulldog. Let's go. Cowbell. Let's go.
We're going to do sounders. We'll do sounders at the end, I promise.
All right. Cowbell. Tell everybody what those gifted memberships are, Moen.
Those went to, you become a member of the College Football Mafia family. You get access to all member benefits, including members-only videos, exclusive emotes in the chat, and preferential treatment when we select questions for the show. And those went to BYU FTB, Curtis 316, Total Share Texas, Stan Tipton, I got that right, and Srick Othur have all become members of the College Football Mafia family. Thanks to our friend Bulldog Mississippi.
Thank you.
And make sure if you're in the chat, you thank Bulldog Mississippi. Bulldog Mississippi, we certainly thank you for growing and helping us open the books here on some new members in the family.
I have, that reminds me, I got stuff I got to get to you guys. I just remembered. My memory is so bad.
Is it Big 12 Wizard stuff?
No, it's not Big 12. No. Yeah, I don't have. No Big 12. LC versus the Earth, another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, LC. We appreciate you. UFOs do not exist. UFO is great rock band, though. Boy, UFO, that's a callback. I haven't heard.
Not according to the X-Files. Been watching that show a lot lately, guys. The X-Files, seriously.
Okay.
Almost through season 1, baby.
I don't know.
The truth is out there. The truth is out there.
That's a sounder you could do, Moen. That little dee from X-Files.
Yeah,
I believe that's all the super chat. So let's jump ahead since we went by a bunch of non-member, certainly not super chat people. Let's get some shout outs for people who are here at the beginning of the show.
Can I play my sounders real quick, mate?
Yep, go. I forgot.
For Greg.
There's a Badger right there. Let's go.
Mark Bowman, the Iowa Hawkeye.
Yes.
For LC versus the Earth.
Let's
Bulldog, Mississippi. We're going to do a little more cowbell.
I got a fever.
Oh, it dropped.
The only prescription is more
Did it keep going?
You can't hear it, Nate, but I'm sure Ute and I can hear it. So
I can hear it, and it's beautiful.
The audio wigs out. I don't know what's wrong.
And then one more for LC versus the Earth. Since he is a dual graduate, we will play Fight Song.
Whoa, Nelly. All right, let's go. Outlaw Skies in the house. Good to see you, Outlaw. Thank you so much for being here. You've been a long-standing member of the College Football Mafia. We appreciate him. Fifth, go Buckeyes. So, Moen, you want to say anything there? You got a shout-out.
Yeah, go Buckeyes.
Okay,
go Bucks.
Very good.
Bring it.
Movie Time Blues. Valuable viewer, have been around us for a long time. Disappeared for a bit when he's been back, and we appreciate him. The way I see things, if the Domers decide they have to leave Independence, then one of the things that will happen is they won't take the first offer. They will leverage as much as they can.
I agree, and I think right now they have the most leverage.
I think it's just
where do they have leverage?
Too.
Like I guess like
they're Notre Dame.
Like right now
they're Notre Dame, but like
they're Notre Dame.
Tell me where they're supposed to go. Are they going to go to the Southeastern Conference? Are you saying they're really going to go there? And if they're not, then they've got one conference, guys. That's not leverage. That's like, hey, eventually you're going to drop in the bucket.
But right now they've got a contract that says how much they're worth to the media partners. And they can obviously pick whoever they want to bring with them based off of that.
Stanford.
It's a Big Ten moves and takes Florida. Let's say the Big Ten moves and takes Florida State and Miami. And they say, we don't want to go above 22. Now, if you're Notre Dame, you've lost potentially one of the other teams you could have brought in. You can only bring one. Or what if
Does Notre Dame really care that much, though? I mean, their peers are all in the Big Ten.
They're not joining anything.
Like who like outside of Stanford, who are they really having to have go to the Big Ten conference with them? Having to have.
Okay. Having to have, if they came today, I think they probably would want Stanford and Cal.
Yes.
Do they even have any games versus Cal? I don't even remember.
No, but they fought so hard to get Stanford and Cal. I mean, they basically blew up the ACC to get Stanford
and the Pac-12 as well. They Pac-12 could have tried to rebuild if they didn't bail.
Yeah.
So,
but again, I think if it was today, I think they would probably try and get Stanford and Cal in, and the Big Ten would probably acquiesce to get Notre Dame.
You asked what leverage, just an open question. I think the leverage is their legacy. And we can hate them or love them or aspire to be them, but that's never changing. So.
But like, I guess I'm thinking like, if you want leverage, you have to have options, right? And like a leverage would be like, hey, I've got an SEC because I'm serious about going to SEC and Big Ten. And I'm going to position myself to get maximum benefit from one of them by playing off. But if you're not serious about the SEC, the Big Ten knows that. So it's either like, I guess like there's not as much leverage in my mind's eye. I get they're valuable, but like,
who needs two more? Does the Big Ten need Notre Dame more? Does Notre Dame need the Big Ten? A lot more. I don't think so. No.
The Big Ten's
they have playoff access now.
How many national championships in a row the Big Ten is on top of the world?
That doesn't matter.
Notre Dame.
That doesn't matter.
Notre Dame.
Look,
little Mickey.
We're talking about our personal opinions, right? Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
We're talking about that's a fact. The Big Ten's dominating everything.
I don't think it matters to Notre Dame. I don't think they care. I don't think they care. They only care about Notre Dame. And they can because the CFP gave them that power. Everybody bent over for Notre Dame with the college football playoff negotiations. As long as it stays that way and they're not forced to join a conference, they never will. That's my opinion.
The Big Ten has two brands that are bigger than Notre Dame. Like
yes, I did say they didn't.
And so like they're just like there's this upper tier team, but they're not the best. Like so it's not like they're double like Ohio State. I just don't understand like look, I know they add value to the media contract, but it's like it's just a good ad. Like, but it's not like a must have.
You're thinking like a banker. You're thinking like a banker. Somebody who really needs leverage and understands what they do. You know risk analysis, you know all these things. In this thing, we are talking about college football, and Notre Dame is a myth. It's not even, it's a myth and a legend. Hasn't won anything since '88, and yet it's Notre Dame. So unless that changes, unless it's forced down their throat, they're not going to do anything, in my opinion. Could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. I would be willing to admit that. If I got that wrong, I would absolutely call it up. There's no doubt.
I think you nailed it. It's like it's a mythical creature. It's like that. It's the lover that you couldn't have. We know this. We've talked about this one before, but it's true. It's the Big Ten's lover. They're trying to wed, but the lover's still playing footsie. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love it. The lover I'm not even kidding.
The lover, like it's the secret passion, baby. The burning
desire.
All
right. Hollywood, Caden in the house. Good to have you here, Caden Diesel Freak. Member for 4 months. We're 145 days away from week 1 of Ohio State football, and I'm excited for them to kick ass. Go Bucks, and that would be Buckeyes. Moen, you want to give another Ohio State?
Oh yeah, I love giving Ohio State sounders.
I know you do. I know it. Well, and Caden paid for it, so let's give it to him.
Oh, there's something. Let's party, Columbus.
There you go. It's a good one.
Where's that dancing Brutus guy? Put that guy on the screen, Moan.
He's right here. You can find him. He's not that hard. If I can find him, you can find him.
Where's Brutus?
All right. There you go. Hollywood Caden, a $10 super chat. By the way, Hollywood Caden the Diesel Freak has been a member with us and helped us for so long. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all you do, Caden, and thanks for being with us tonight. Go Buckeyes, and they're going to kick some serious ass, Moen. You think so? You agree with Caden? Okay. Oh, Michigan fans. I'm sorry, Amazing Blue. They're super chats. I can't do anything for it. Hollywood Caden again, another $5 super chat. Torch the Tide, Buckeye Nation. So when is that? Are they playing in Ohio State this year, or are they going?
No, Ohio State has to go to Texas this year, and then I think next year.
Oh, it's Texas. Okay.
Is if the tide holds true, because they've been talking about pulling out, and
for because they went to 9 conference games.
Yeah. So
okay, we'll talk about the playoff when their shout-outs are done. We'll talk about that. Okay.
Just use the buy to recruit their best player and throw that NIL bag at them. That'll teach them a lesson right there, Moan.
That'll teach them a lesson. Yeah, 100 million NIL is going to be 100 million per team in just a couple of years. That was a bunch of nonsense, by the way. That guy at Alabama, what a complete jackass. Anyway, LC versus the Earth, $5 super chat. Hey, Moen, if Notre Dame joins the Big Ten, will they still be allowed to duck USC?
No, that's one of the things. They're going to have to play USC again, and they're probably not going to get to pick what time of the year they play USC, but I'd imagine the Big Ten marketing heroes are smart enough to realize a game like that, you want to center it around a special time frame. So I'd preferably like to see USC Notre Dame at the end of the year always.
Here's a question for you guys. Is USC versus Notre Dame as a Big Ten game, let's say that they're in the Big Ten and this happens, is that the second biggest Big Ten game a year behind the game? Or is there a different game is there a Penn State Michigan game that's ahead of USC?
No, I think it would be USC Notre Dame. I agree with Moen. Yeah.
I don't even think it's close. I don't think there's a game in the Big Ten outside of the game that comes close to Notre Dame USC.
We could probably look that up. Somebody could do a 10-year average on Claude or something like that and find out what the viewership was when it was peak USC and peak Notre Dame and peak Michigan, peak Ohio State, maybe the early 2000s. And that number might be – I agree, though. I think it's probably – it's not better than Michigan, Ohio State, but I think it's right behind it. And one more super chat from Caden. Another $5 one. If the Irish go join the Big Ten, they're getting their asses kicked by Ohio State twice a year, Moen. Just to play them twice a year.
Just a reminder, Notre Dame has not beat Ohio State since 1936.
Oof. Yeah, right. Really?
Oof. That's true. It's a true stat. Look it up. Notre Dame has not beat Ohio State since 1936.
How many times have they played?
Yeah, how many times have you played?
5 or something?
No. It's more than that. It's
okay.
8 or 9.
This is something I did not know. So
yeah, it's 8 or 9.
They haven't beat you in 100 years almost.
Wow.
Almost.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you so much, Hollywood Caden, the Diesel Freak, $5 super chat. Thanks for all the stuff you do for us. We really appreciate you. Okay, Moen, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Let's talk about some college football playoff 24-team style.
We will do that. I got to play some sounders first, so
go ahead. You bet.
Mowing is the word. Mowing is the word. All right. I give you permission on this day to say mowing.
And then, of course, we've got this one.
You saying you can't control your bitches? Pimpin' ain't easy. Oh, sleazy. Pimpin' ain't easy. Pimpin' ain't easy. Pimpin' ain't easy.
Then we got
but I
one.
can go as deep as you want to.
Dude, stop it, Moen. Come on, man.
They super chats get sounders.
I
man.
hate that, Moen. I hate that sounder.
No, that's great. That's great. Okay,
yeah,
Moen, go ahead.
2014 playoff was discussed. Fox is for it, believe it or not, because they would get a huge piece of that 2014 playoff. So Fox came out in support of it, and I think it's getting closer. Greg's always pushing the Army of 24. I never thought that would be a possibility, but I think it's going to be a possibility.
It makes the most sense.
It makes the most sense, and it makes it so everybody, well, it's not going to be equal. Listen, the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get more teams in than anybody, but
yes,
at least it's going to give the opportunity for more G6 teams, for more Big 12 teams, for more ACC teams.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've got a, let me bring this up.
What about automatic qualifiers?
Go ahead. You can ask that while I chase this thing down. Go ahead.
I don't know about the automatic qualifiers.
If we go to 24, I want to know about automatic qualifiers.
So the original report, this is what Moen was talking about. Zach Barnett says, in light of, let me take this. Everybody can go and read it and get detail. But this is the president of Fox Sports, who used to be Bob Thompson, by the way. If you guys don't think my next interview is going to center around this, you're crazy. In light of the CEO's comments today, here is my manifesto and a column on Fox and the Big Ten's plan to turn college football into the NFL, and that's better or worse. My comment, and then I'll turn the time back over to Moen, is this is what it comes down to. The article's fantastic. I recommend everybody go reads it. But there's one thing that he said that I thought was complete. It was asinine, I thought. If there's no penalty for losing in the non-conference, there's no meaning in those games either. And I completely disagree with that. This was not said by the Fox president, by the way. It was by the guy who wrote this other article, Zach Barnett. If there is no penalty for losing a non-conference, there's no meaning in those games either. And I think that's completely wrong. In fact, I think you're going to have more non-conference games that mean more if you open up the playoff to 24 teams, because then it allows you to lose 3 or 4 games. The Texas-Ohio State game doesn't become an eliminator, which it was last year for Texas. And there's no reason to do that. It doesn't hurt it at all. In fact, I think all it does is drive up interest.
With 24 teams, you're going to get more playoff games on campus too. Mm-hmm. So that out-of-conference win over a Texas or an Alabama could mean that you get an extra game on campus, and that's a huge advantage.
Or 2, maybe the first 2 rounds are on campus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge advantage in college football to have home field, much more than the NFL. In college, home field does play a big part in it. And if you're Ohio State, you're Clemson, you're LSU, you want them to come into your stadium with your fans yelling 100 decibels an hour and play. So I think there still is something to be played for there. The problem is you're going to eliminate the championship games. There's no point in a championship game in a 24-team playoff. You will just go to a regular season champion, similar to what a lot of people do with basketball. And then if you want to have games to boost some teams for play-ins, maybe do that. But I think even that, you just get away from it. You move to week 0. You play all these games. You avoid the NFL a lot easier with your playoff games. I think 24 at this point. And And I used to be anti-24. I used to be the same way, that it hurts regular season. What's the point? But I think it just provides more opportunity. It provides better games. Yeah, you lose a championship game, but you get all these additional playoff games. They're at home stadiums, which I think makes them more exciting. Nothing against the Rose Bowl. Love the Rose Bowl game, but it's way more exciting to have a game at home.
I agree with you guys. 24 teams is the way. It's moving that way. Fox wants it for all the reasons you guys have said. Here's the thing. Automatic qualifiers must be a part of this. Okay. And I'm talking about 3, 12 spots, half the field, automatic qualifiers for the Power Four.
I would love
that. Get that done, no problem.
I would love that.
Because the SEC and the Big Ten are going to scoop up every other slot other than the G5 slot in most years. And the Big 12 conference will get 3 teams in every year, guaranteed. But what I've seen the last 2 years is a screw job by the playoff committee and the 12 team that I expect to happen in a 24 team. And I don't want to see it because that's going to make Wild Ute really upset getting left out of a 24 team scenario. So don't even go there. I don't want it to be a beauty pageant. Give me 3 freaking playoff berths. Texas Tech, Utah, BYU, Houston, TCU. We've got worthy teams. They're going to make a ruckus. Freaking the Big 12 is going to cause damage in the playoff this year. And check it out. 3-3-3-3 is the way. 3 guaranteed spots must happen because I cannot trust the committee to do the right thing. They don't do it any year. They've proven it twice already. I do not want to see a straight, just like, hey, get seated in this field and stuff. Have the committee come up with all the seedings and everything because the Big 12 is about to get the biggest screw job of their freaking life if they do that. Seriously, guys, no way. 3-3-3-3. Give me that right now. No problems at all. I'll just expect 3 slots from the Big 12 every year. The Big 12 will give it in the playoff going forward.
Yeah, but didn't your commissioner say he wanted to earn it on the field?
Yeah, look, we don't defend that. So that's a shot at other people. It's not a shot at us because neither one of us thought that was smart at all. I think, Moen, you wanted to dive into any more data? Sorry about the article. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
No. Well, it's the interesting part too is it would allow Fox to have an opportunity to get some games on.
Get
Fox.
some games. Yep.
We would not have it limited to just ESPN and ESPN controlling it by putting it behind a paywall.
Right.
People, they've complained a lot about these ratings for some of these playoff games, and part of that is because it's behind a paywall, and if you don't have ESPN, you can't see it. Putting it on broadcast television is going to widen the audience that you can gather for it, and hopefully improve your ad rates for it, which will make everybody involved more money.
If we assume that it's going to be a regular bracket system like they do in the FCS, you have 4 buys, or there would be 8 that would get a first round bye. The first 16 would play, and then it would bracket all the way down to the champion. I honestly believe there's going to be games that are 20 versus 13 that people are going to watch. Last year would have been a bang-up job if they were 24 teams. So many teams that got left out were competitive and very, very good, and they would have drawn really good ratings. You're not going to get ratings if it's 12 teams and 2 of the teams are G6 schools. I'm not knocking G6 schools. I'm telling you, the viewership just isn't there. That data is baked in. So I love the idea of 3-3-3-3 AQs. I'm afraid it's not going to go an AQ way, though. I certainly would vote for that. That would be something I would champion. But I have a feeling the AQs are not going to be part of this. That's the only thing the SEC.
25?
Top 24, it's actually 23 plus 1 G6 entrant 23. At least. Yeah.
Do you guys think
Notre Dame
that the committee will do the right thing or juice the rankings because of bias? I'm serious about that.
Absolutely, they will. They've done it forever, yes. Yeah, they will.
So why is that a favorable position for Big 12?
Well, get rid of the committee. You just do the top 24. Get rid of the committee and just do the top 24.
But yeah, even the rankings.
Well, I know that. We know the rankings are broken. Yeah. You're right. They are.
I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I just want to see like 3 teams. The Big 12 deserves to have 3 teams in, guys. They do. They've got 3 of the top 23, 24 teams in the nation. 100%. They got more than that. They deserve to be in the field. And like in the way that this system is built, it's going to suppress that. And you're going to see scenarios and stuff where Big 12 might get 4 teams in 1 year, then 2 teams in a lot more years. And then sometimes 3 teams. But I want to see 3 automatics. That makes sense for the Big 12. I think you should fight for that.
I don't disagree with you. Let's break this one down from Mark's Holy Grail. Thanks for flagging this one, Moen. Appreciate seeing you for one thing. Thanks for being here tonight, Mark. We appreciate you, USC fans. So we got to give them Trojan help. So disappointing that you guys prefer 2014 playoff. Moen, I'm going to need you to diagnose what he's saying here because I don't think I understand what he's saying. Over Ohio State, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Big Ten championship games, and SEC, Georgia, Alabama, and there will not be more good regular season games, regular season diluted. So you're saying you don't want to lose the championship games. Is that what he's saying?
He's saying basically, if I'm following what Mark's saying, is he doesn't want a 2014 playoff. He thinks it dilutes regular season games. He thinks it gets rid of quality championship games like Ohio State, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, SEC, Georgia, Bama. But my point would be, Mark, that we've already crossed that Rubicon when we moved to 12. The championship game generally don't matter because both teams in the championship game in the SEC and Big Ten are getting in regardless of what happens in the championship game.
But not in the ACC and not in the Big 12. So why would we?
Well, in the ACC, the ACC championship game didn't matter to anybody this playoff.
Well, it mattered.
They ended up putting. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. They put Miami in, who was not in the ACC championship game. So we've already crossed the Rubicon by going to 12. Once we went past 4, we've crossed the Rubicon of championship games mattering. As for regular season games, I don't think that way. I think it helps more because there are really, really good teams in the past who've stumbled, had a bad game.
Texas last year.
Texas, yeah.
I mean,
Ohio
just
State
happened last year. So
Ohio State's had a lot of good teams that just caught a loss on the road, and that eliminated them from playoff contention. And they had legitimate chances. They were legitimately good enough to win the national championship some of those years.
Didn't make it to the Big Ten championship when they lost to Oregon. And barely made the playoff.
Barely made the playoff, won the national championship. So
yeah.
But there was a year they lost to Michigan State at home on a missed field goal, and Michigan State got absolutely annihilated in the playoffs. And Ohio State, it was one of their better teams under Urban Meyer. So I think it's nice to have. I get what he's saying; it would dilute it, but I think it's nice to be able to have a really good team. You can have an off game. Injuries can happen, things like that, and you can come back from it.
Those great out-of-conference games are basically free now. How is that not something people would watch and have it be exciting? Every game does not have to be a playoff eliminator to make it big. That's kind of what I get when I hear comments from people that say out-of-conference games dilute the regular season. I say you're looking at it the completely wrong way. In my opinion, you should be looking at it as you have 2 teams that are very, very good. Everybody's going to watch a non-conference game in September, and it's not going to kick them out of the playoff at the end because they just happen to have one more loss than somebody else who went out and gets punked in the first round of the playoff because they weren't prepared. I love the out-of-conference games. I think this encourages those, and it does not do the reverse. I could be wrong. We could go 5 years down the road, and I could be proved wrong. I just don't think I am, Mark.
It will not impact viewership, guys. Go ahead, Mon.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I would add that with conference governance, everybody should go to a uniform.
I agree with that.
System of playing 9 conference games, 1 Power 4,
right?
1 FBS. I think we should eliminate FCS teams. I don't think
those money games.
Yeah,
like the Miami of Ohio's.
No, that's an FBS team.
Okay.
I'm talking about playing like Jacksonville State.
What does that? Right.
Or the teams that are really like the SEC is consistently like before their final game of the season played an FCS opponent, and That's a game I think we can do. I don't have a problem with the early season FBS games against G6 competition.
Just get rid of the FCS games in
The
total.
FCS ones, I think you should get rid of.
Yeah, I don't.
More losses will not hurt viewership. More losses will not hurt viewership, guys. It's just, I think it's in the mind more reality and stuff. The sports will grow because of more playoff games, like we're saying. But guys, what drives viewership and people's intrigue is your brand, meaning your team name. That's it. Team name, Ohio State, Michigan, and your ranking. You can have 5 losses, and if you're still ranked number 1, no one gives a hoot. They're going to watch it because it's Ohio State's name, and they've got a huge brand, like a top 5 ranking or whatever. Right. So more losses because of harder competition will not impact the competitiveness or watchability or viewership. It's just going to continue increasing. Just telling you, like, that's the big thing. Takeaway for the eyeballs part.
I completely agree with you. Go Black 45, LSU, Tiger in the house. Go Black's been with us. I don't know. He's got to be over 2 years now. Go Black. Thank you so much for being a member of the College Football Mafia family. $5 super chat. ASU broke ground for ASU Health Medical Research Center on 4/9/26. So that's this month, just this week, in fact. With $1 billion in research last year, ASU might have a better shot moving on up. Mullen, let's give him a sounder first, and then what do you guys think about that comment?
Let me pull up LSU. I know I've got to go Tigers in here somewhere.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get it.
HIJK LSU, go Tigers.
Let's go.
Gosh, LSU's cool. LSU's cool.
It is cool.
Really, yeah, LSU is one of the coolest programs in college football, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not a fan of their coach. I would say this. I believe in the Bivs scorecard I did, Arizona is just a bit above ASU because of their brand.
Was that recency bias because of the basketball success?
No, and actually the basketball, I actually dialed down the value of basketball brands in the Bivs scorecard. I put it mostly into football because that's really what drives realignment. And Arizona, it was close. I mean, it's not like Arizona. It was like Arizona ASU. It was like 5A, 5B sort of situation. But yeah, having a health center does boost you significantly in the eyes of Big Ten presidents.
ASU is always going to have a shot at getting into the Big Ten. Massive market, a growing market. AAU status, research is improving. Like some football history, I mean, there's a lot to offer. ASU and like in Moen, it's an interesting conversation between U of A and ASU because U of A fans will say that they bring Tucson and Phoenix markets, right? ASU's in Phoenix. And so if that's the case, you really kind of, if you grabbed Arizona, you do get the basketball brand, and basically football's almost, within the realm rating wise and historically. So I don't know who would be more attractive to Big Ten, Arizona, ASU. Moen's model says Arizona. To me, it's 50-50. I don't know, but I think they're both kind of dark horses. They don't get a lot of discussion, just like it's a bit confusing why Colorado doesn't get much discussion too. I have to think that it might just be because of like football history, the passion with the football programs just isn't there historically. I get with Prime right now that's kind of changed a little bit, although it's declining. But with Arizona and Arizona State, it's been a struggle for a long time. So they don't really have a built-in fan base, although they're in a big market city. So interesting discussions with those 3 schools, those AAU schools are going to be in consideration though.
Yeah, Arizona scored 22, ASU scored 22, Colorado scored 21.
Yeah, and I don't think any of them are going anywhere. The Big Ten's not going past 20, 21 if they include Notre Dame. These are great dreams. Everybody go out and dream. Florida State, go out and dream. Everybody dream. But I don't think these conferences are going more than 20 teams. That's my opinion.
Do you think that Stanford gets in the Big Ten, Nate? Does Stanford get in?
I think Stanford and Cal ride the Notre Dame coattails. If I was to project right now,
21,
and you're going to say, yeah, That would be the only way. If they pick anybody else that isn't with Notre Dame and they just pick 2 schools, I think they go to the Southeast. Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech, Moen said. I don't think they look west, but I could be wrong. I admit that.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 schools that scored a perfect score on research, and it's Stanford and Duke.
Yeah. Shocking.
So,
yeah. Duke is another one that I don't think gets in unless Notre Dame brings them either. That would be the Duke play, in my opinion, is Duke really tries to buddy up to Notre Dame and Stanford and says, let's take super research and football and let's go in. But I just think that pull with Stanford and Cal right there in the same geographical area makes some travel easier for basketball and
But in my system, it penalizes them. It treats each school like it's in a vacuum. So
I got you.
So schools you already have an existing school in that state, it would penalize you. That's why Pitt gets penalized. That's why Cal and Stanford also get penalized in that.
Does anybody
because
think
there's no growth
Stanford,
in new states?
Yeah.
There's growth when you're double dipping, like in your fourth. If you added Stanford and Cal, we've talked about this before, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But like you're hitting 4 schools in the state of California, and you're hitting 2 schools in a market that's a declining market, and like 2 schools that don't have a lot of history football wise. That is a cost. I mean, it's expensive. Like
I agree with you. It's from a media market standpoint, from a football standpoint, but with that 15 score in research, adding Stanford, you're more than making
Stanford.
You're printing money for your conference. Everybody's money goes up if they join the AAU or the CRC.
And I don't think wherever Stanford goes, I think Cal goes with them. I can't picture a conference that just has a Cal by itself. I cannot see those 2 schools separate. It's possible. It could happen. I mean, football is realignment, right? We want football teams. We want activated fans that are excited to be in a new conference, that want to play big time football and win a national championship. That's what we want. But out in the world, I think the politics is a lot bigger deal than we probably even can try to capture. And the politics of splitting Stanford and Cal together, in my opinion, would be very, very difficult to do. So, Jared Jones in the house, Ohio State. Rackham, Ohio State, and always having Jared to come in here. We appreciate you, man. Tom DeBay, Dan Wetzel from Yahoo Sports said a month ago that Ohio State, Michigan was valued at $200 million. For one thing, do we trust Dan Wetzel? I don't know much about him. And 2, is $200 million. Does that sound about right, you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that, value-wise, like their athletic departments is more than that, guys. It's more than $200 million.
No, I just think they're talking about that game. They're just talking about the one game, I think.
The game is valued at
$200 million. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you're getting 20 million, 18 to 20 million eyeballs on that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about 200 million. That seems a little heavy. Yeah.
Greatest
I don't know.
Sport.
I'd say definitely half that.
Isn't Dan Wetzel out of USC? Isn't he a California guy? I don't know much about him, but his reporting during the Pac-12 saga was not the best.
Well, that's because the Pac-12 was out there trying to manipulate reporters.
I just don't know how to trust him very much. That's all I'm saying. Right. I don't know much about his writing. I just know during the 3 years ago, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He was following guys that we have walked away from for years. I'm not even going to say their names anymore. And so I get worried when $200 million seems pretty rich. You'd have to, let's see, the Super Bowl for 30 seconds got $8 million, $8 to $10 million this year for 30 seconds. And they did, how many of those? 3, maybe they did 50 commercials.
I don't know, because all the commercials sucked.
But that's the highest mark. So where are you getting money for the Michigan Ohio State game? Advertising. So what are they charging for their advertising? And then what people 18 to 20 people watching you, 20 million people. Is that enough to drive
18 to 20 million people?
That's a 10x multiplier. Is that possible?
I have to think that this is just like the economic impact too, because like if you're factoring in the eyeballs,
maybe.
that's one thing. But just
So
imagine
not
how
the
much,
viewership.
how much merch,
Right.
is bought because of the game, or how much, how many stickers to go stick it on every, Michigan M in the state of Ohio, like to block that and stuff. Like the economic impact of everything associated with the game could be 200 million if you could quantify that.
Interesting.
Because like seriously, like Moen's talked about it, like every M on every sign in the state during the game week is covered. Like it's insanity, right?
Yeah. Most rivalry games get like that, but yeah, it's next level for sure. Yeah. Go Black 45 gifted another membership. Moen, let's go.
This is really interesting. Thank you, Go Black 45, because you gifted one to the chosen one.
Nice.
So apparently that worked out very apropos. Thank you for the gifted membership, Go Black 45. The chosen one, if you are in the chat, make sure you give a thank you to Go Black 45. Thank you, Go Black 45. Let me give you a sounder here.
Let's go.
Let's do a little here we go.
I got my Magnum condoms. I got my Wad 100s. I'm ready to plow.
That's
brutal.
You give these,
by the way, for all the people that receive new memberships tonight, you want some good karma in your life, you want to get something back, give somebody else a free membership. That's how we keep things going around here. We really appreciate those that are being unselfish and giving what they have to you. Consider doing the same thing for somebody else. And once you become a member, our show's over. Jump into our back catalog, and we have got so many member videos. You'll be the smartest guy at the water cooler on Monday morning if you go and watch some of our off-season videos about values for realignment, about money for NIL, about the way the transfer portal works. We've got an entire back catalog of stuff that will teach you those things. And then there's always the rousing things like what's Utah's media value? That always gets people going as well.
I don't speak about that anymore. I don't. Yeah, that never happened.
Anthony Manzano in the house saying Moen, it's actually Moan, with how the Board of Education works in the state of North Carolina, with higher education, North Carolina State, Duke are attached at the hip. If one leaves, the other two follow. Moen.
Well, Anthony, that's not correct about Duke, because Duke is a private institution. They are not governed by the Board of Higher Education in North Carolina. North Carolina State, Wolfpack Backpack, we've brought this one up numerous times. It comes down to who has more pull in the state legislature, the governor. Can they sever that backpack? Can they possibly pay Carolina money to get rid of North Carolina State so North Carolina can move on? But yeah, Duke does not fit in there because they are private. They get to go wherever they want to. But you're right. The North Carolina State and Virginia Tech thing, that has to be resolved.
Okay. Excellent. Movie Time Blues says siloing has little to do with money, but everything to do with protecting the interests of a conference, which has something to do with money. So started without money and then it ends with money. I know what siloing is. I just don't think that will work. These conferences have to work together. Otherwise you can't be on uneven playing fields with rules. It just won't work. The governance needs to be national. Get rid of the NCAA. Build one that's just Division 1-1. It's like the upper division of just schools that make the ultimate commitment to play top tier college football. How you pick those teams, I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I don't have to invent it. Somebody else would have to invent it. But at the end of the day, I think they all need to be on the same page. Siloing, in my opinion, does not get us any closer to that outcome.
What do you do about the NCAA tournament? Just automatically.
I break football off.
I agree with what Nick said. You just break football off.
You leave basketball and all the other sports.
You carve football out and then you stick everything else in the NCAA.
Yes.
Yep. Why would the Big 12 agree to that?
Because they're all playing under the same rules.
That's a pretty bad deal for ACC and Big 12.
Why?
To just say, hey, you can pull your football away and you can govern it under your own structure, But because you want to be in the NCAA tournament still, you can play in the NCAA with us and get benefits of the NCAA tournament. That doesn't work.
I don't understand the analogy.
So I'm saying that one of the biggest issues with the silo is the NCAA basketball tournament and entry into that, right? And like,
well, it's not a problem for me because I don't think they are together.
Well, right, but like, here's the point: like, if you silo away everything, which you guys are saying wouldn't happen, if you silo away everything, what are you going to do about the basketball tournament? Right, you're not in the NCAA anymore to play in the NCAA tournament.
No, do you stay in the NCAA and play basketball?
Okay, so if that's the case, and you pull your football away, and they're not governed under NCAA anymore,
no, they would create a. They would have to create a new governance. They would have to create a new governance model. It would have to be built
for basketball too.
No, just football.
I'm talking about basketball value here too. Okay, so basketball. Let's go back to basketball. Okay. Basketball. Why would a conference like the Big 12 that has a really good basketball product and the ACC agree to let the Big 10 and the SEC just participate in the NCAA basketball tournament when they pulled their most valuable assets, football, away?
But
that's
all the ACC, all the Big 12, all the Big 12 and ACC schools are playing in this group. They're all playing together.
But here's my point: is like if there's a silo that happens, it's a major pull away that you're not going to be able to recover from if you're the Big 12 of the ACC. To me, it's a tombstone.
The association. You're gonna have to draw me a chart or something because
no problem.
For me, it's pretty straightforward.
No, listen, I think, look, the NCAA isn't going to have a problem if they pull football away. They make their money on the tournament. They always have. I don't have a problem with the way the NCAA has governed Olympic sports. I have issue with the way the NCAA has governed football. So I think the easiest way is you can't govern football. You don't know how to do it. You can't get legislation passed. Let's take the three best conferences, because I think at the end of the day, I think either the ACC or the Big 12 is getting eaten up. Pick one. You're probably going to have three big conferences. You let them come up with a unified rule of this is the uniform rules that we're all playing by, and we will play each other, and we will have automatic qualifiers in our playoff tournaments. And, Notre Dame at that point, going back to that theory, Notre Dame would have to join one of those three conferences to receive that kind of governance.
Maybe it could be 60+1.
It could be, but I doubt. Yeah, I doubt that they're going to leave just one independent. I could be wrong, but Greg has moved them to the center of a stage for a reason. So
okay.
I think the Big 12 and the ACC are playing way too nice with this silo. I don't think people understand the magnitude of the risk here that we're talking about. Like, if the SEC and Big 10 go silo, it ain't ever going back.
No.
And if they silo, they can pull away and play each other and basically nuke everybody else.
No.
Football and what am I misunderstanding?
We're not advocating that, though.
Right.
We are not saying that. The silo, you're getting caught up in the word silo. What I'm saying is just new governance, and it's just for football. Everything else stays in basketball, and you have the best. Wait, let's say it's 64 teams. Let's say it's 72 teams. Whatever that is, that group, that division would have its own division rules, and they'd all play under the same. The money would be paid out in that grouping. Those teams would play each other, and they'd go for a national championship. There's nothing, it wouldn't be tied to anything on basketball or for the Olympic sports for that matter. I don't care if it stays with the NCAA. The rules may or may not be good, but at the end of the day, they can't do anything with football. They have no concept of rules and regulations for football. So why keep them involved in football? I'm not talking about siloing at all. I'm not using that word at all. How long have I advocated for three conferences, 60 teams to 72 teams, and Notre Dame's in there? I've said that for years now. That's not new. So the silo idea has come out because the Big Ten and the SEC started putting out feelers saying we shouldn't be judged by the same standards that everybody else is. So we're going to go in and create our own rules in conference, and then we'll get together and play and make up a mythical national championship. And I'm not advocating for that at all. I'm saying the best football teams that are in America get put in a new division. By the way, they've already given themselves the ability to do this. They just haven't done it yet with the CFP. They could create their own governance model that would just cover football. They just haven't done it yet. So that's what I'm talking about, a national thing. I'm not talking about the conferences doing their own thing and everybody running and hiding in a corner. I don't think that gets anybody anywhere. I think it has to be national, it has to be together.
Let me ask you a question on that, okay? Because I'm with you.
Okay.
What incentivizes the Big Ten or the SEC to bring the Big 12 or the ACC or a blend of both of those into the sandbox and play with them under this governance model? Like why would they do that? Why do they care?
They would maximize their viewership and they'd get a lot more money to do it.
Nate, I've done the research on this. The only thing that would actually increase the value of the Big Ten and the SEC from what it is today is if those two joined together and left out the Big 12 and the ACC. I'm serious about this.
I know.
And so I'm worried about that. Like, hey, like if that happens and there were silos that happened in football, the SEC played the Big Ten, that is an easy way just to say, we don't need to play anybody else because they're a drain on our money. It's not,
I'm not advocating
it does not make
that,
them more
though.
money. I'm not saying you are, but I'm just communicating my concern about that conversation. And so going back, the only lever point that the Big 12 and ACC would have is being in the NCAA still and having access to the basketball tournament with all the rest of the schools. And so using that as a leverage point would be good to try to fight the idea of a football silo. Anyway, we can move on.
Okay, I think now I understand what you're coming from. What you're saying is if they keep them in the NCAA, but do you see, let's just ask this open-ended question then. Let's assume everybody is going to give the NCAA a little breathing room and they can go out and try to create rules that are good for college football. Does anybody really believe they're going to be able to do that? I don't think they have moral authority to do anything with football. So how do we solve that problem? Because that's where the siloing conversation started, is because the NCAA doesn't know what they're doing with rules for recruiting or anything else for football. So how do you fix that challenge if it's not going to be
the Score Act,
a whole new thing? No, it won't.
Like the things that we talk about that like we're begging to get past because that is preventing the silo effect. And the silo effect, like I said, is actually going to make the Big Ten and the SEC more valuable than they are today. And I hate to say this because I'm a diehard supporter, but like cutting the Big 12 and the ACC out is more valuable for the Big Ten and the SEC. I hate to say that. That kills me, but that's the truth, man.
The politics of a 48-team Super League is not viable, in my opinion. That's at the end of that's my last statement on it. I don't think the politics would last that you kick out more than 2/3 of all college football schools. I just don't think that would work. I think you got to be somewhere between 60 and 72. That's more than half. And that can get you over the politics problem. Because right now, the antitrust control that they do not have in college football that they're begging for, that's definitely something Congress could lever. No, you can't break away because we're not going to give you the coverage you need for coverage against lawsuits and stuff. There are things that can be done so the breakaway doesn't happen. I just don't think, I think it's fanciful to say that 48 teams is enough. That's how I look at it. So
yeah,
but I understand what you're saying now. I understand what you're saying though. I think that is a good topic and it's not going away. We will bring it up again. I promise you. Thank you, Movie Tom Blues. That was a good conversation. I really appreciate you being here tonight. Jared Jones, Ute is correct. It's sponsorship, media rights, etc. I'm not sure that's sort of out of context.
He's referring
Do you
to
have
the
any comment
game.
for that? Oh, the game.
He's referring to Ohio State, Michigan.
For the valuation, the $200 million?
Yep.
Okay. Does that make more sense if it's everything, not just viewership?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about tickets. Think about T-shirts. Think about all the conversation that Moan has with all the Michigan fans.
Right. Exactly. LC versus the Earth, $5 super chat says Cal is a globally respected public university, a Big Ten president's wet dream. That's why they get into the Big Ten. This will be my last.
I think that
else.
Here's the problem with Cal. Cal does not have a medical school on campus.
They don't. That surprises me, actually.
They actually have one in Cal San Francisco, UCSF, but you can't count that towards their research. I actually had this discussion with a Cal fan. Cal lands exactly where Utah, Kansas land in terms of points. They all score 23 points on the BIV scale.
Okay.
They get hurt by not having a medical center. They also get hurt because Cal, as a brand, has really slipped.
Yeah.
It's not the highs it was when Tedford was the coach. So their brand has slipped. But not having that medical center is a big deal. Like, for example, Kansas scores 23. If Kansas didn't have that cancer hospital, which, by the way, it's one of the best cancer hospitals in the nation, Kansas would be hovering around Texas Tech, TCU. That's where most, like 90% of the research from Kansas comes from that medical center.
Okay. You want to add anything to that?
I think Cal is a fantastic institution. It's world renowned. I loved playing Cal in the Pac-12. In my view, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go double up in the market with two brands that are struggling now despite the research.
I think that's
Stanford
reasonable.
to me is an absolute no-brainer. I'm almost certain they will be in the Big Ten Conference. But that second swing is the hard sell to me.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. I mean, that it is possible that just trumps everything. There's no doubt that could happen. I'm going to leave everybody with this. This is the last thing I'm going to do tonight. What is MMR? I talked about it earlier, but a lot of people don't know what it is. It has become the new financing engine to get teams to 40, 50, $60 million rosters in college football. Basically, it's a third-party rights holder. And this is the definition, right, from Copilot. MMR multimedia rights refers to the commercial rights a university licenses to third-party companies. After the House versus NCAA settlement pays athletes directly via revenue sharing, allows athletes third-party NIL money, including MMR partners, as long as those deals meet compliance requirements, fair market value, which is what the CSC is trying to do. Everybody, I think people have lost the thread a little bit on NIL. All of a sudden, NIL, revenue share, MMR, it's all gotten lumped into one sum, and it isn't really that at all. They are completely different. They're isolated. And right now, without MMR, you're not going to have $50 million football rosters. That's where the money's coming from. People need to understand that definition, get used to it. That rights holding is what is driving the commercial properties for these athletes. It's basically taking the athletes' NIL and repackaging them like the mortgage thing in 2008 before the economy crashed around the mortgage crisis. Throw all these deals together, and then you can turn around and pay out to individual players a certain amount of money. It's not going away. In fact, it's going to become the primary driver for paying athletes. And it's the one thing the CSC simply has no way to control right now. They're trying, but right now the goose is loose, and good luck trying to control that thing. So that's sort of Bomber's 30 seconds. I appreciate everybody listening to me on that. Ute, it's great to see you. Thank you so much. Keep doing those videos. Everybody loves those things. And Moen, thank you so much for all the other stuff you do. You know, I appreciate you. I want to say thanks to everybody else. Make sure you give that friend or colleague a phone call or a text. Let them know you're thinking about them. I guarantee you it will come in handy, and those people will feel better because you tried to reach out to them. People suffer in silence every day, and I just want to encourage people to do what they can to reach out to those people that might be vulnerable. Moen, thanks for everything you guys do. I appreciate it. I'm going to say go Cougs. Everybody have a great night, and have a good weekend, okay? We'll see you guys later. Next week,
All right.
I'll have a short video, I believe. Yeah, we'll talk to everybody later. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, I got to do this. Peace. There we go.
Moan is the word.
Moan is the word. Moan is the word. Now I've got to change what we're at. We're at the 2. There we go.
Moan, what are you drinking tonight again? Is it Knob Creek?
It is Knob Creek Kentucky straight rye whiskey. This is a friend
Rye's
got this
good.
for me as a gift. So it's definitely Kentucky. It's got the heat on the end of it. So not bad. Not bad. It's not Canadian whiskey, which is my forte, but We'll drink it.
Yeah, right. They're Crown Royal.
That's right.
Got a little Pacifico tonight.
Nice.
I was hoping that we could do just like a thought experiment, Moan, if you're up for it.
I'm up for it.
It's regarding Florida State and the Big Ten Conference.
Okay.
We've been talking about this for a few years now, right? On how good a fit Florida State is to the Big Ten. Your Bibs analysis shows that if Florida State is AAU, they would be one of the top Big Ten applicants, targets. I want to share something. This is a video that I made last year. It's almost a year old now, about the 3 hurdles that Florida State had to get in the Big Ten Conference. I was hoping that we could talk about those hurdles, if they still exist, or the progress towards those hurdles, if you're open to it.
Sure. Let me get to a couple comments here real quick, and then we can do that. Arnengad says, University of Kansas Medical Center, KU Med, has its main 41-acre campus located in Kansas City, Kansas, at 39th Street and Rainbow Boulevard. You're absolutely correct. I had a discussion with Fergie about this earlier this week. That is still considered the main campus of Kansas University, and it's still how the NSF justifies it. Whereas Colorado has their medical center and their cancer hospital on the Aurora campus, which is actually closer to Colorado Boulder than KU Med is to Lawrence. But because of the way Colorado is governed, that is not a main campus. So they get dinged for that. It's basically a system. Kansas does not have a system. They've got KU Med. They've got Kansas campus in Lawrence. So important thing to keep in mind. Could you see Cal being a non-football member in the Big Ten? Say Big goes to 24 teams, but only has 5 teams on West Coast. Might help out in other sports travel-wise. I don't know that Cal would be up for that. What do you think?
No. Football is everything. It still drives the media values. Cal would be taking a huge haircut on a share. I don't think they could afford to do it, honestly. Even in the Big Ten, if they're getting no football media-related revenues because your football program isn't in the Big Ten, I just don't see Cal being able to afford that, even with the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, but Cal could become a partner in the Big Ten Academic Alliance without actually being a member of the Big Ten. You can become an affiliate in it. So that might be something. Okay, go ahead and start with your thought experiment.
Our thought experiment, this was from almost 12 months ago, the 3 hurdles FSU has for the Big Ten Conference. This is becoming more relevant to discuss. And first off, where did Florida State score? In the modeling, this is last year's information, a bit stale. I haven't changed anything yet. Let's just look at the assessment and what the model had said. The model liked Florida State last year, and they were actually in 5th position based on the blue blood status perception of Florida State. That's the recruiting perception. Financially, viewership-wise, they scored really well. They were a strong candidate all along. But really what I want to get into is some of the hurdles here. Last year hurdle, we had this grant of rights we thought was going to be $500 million. That's been wiped out, Bone. They have a clear path of what they need to pay, and it's a sliding scale, and it's decreasing every year. So hurdle 1 cleared the grant of rights issue that was there last year, even when we were doing this analysis. We were talking about research last year in this AAU association, that Florida State is not AAU yet. And there are more, like Nebraska was becoming such an issue in the Big Ten Conference because they weren't AAU. So Florida State pursuing AAU status was a huge driver in them getting into the Big Ten Conference. And then looking at the research spending, Florida State, this is a bit stale now. They were actually second lowest in the Big Ten, with Oregon just being the lowest here, Nebraska being basically at the same level based on the NSF data. So again, last year's analysis, travel was a concern as well, because you're down there, you'd have to add multiple teams in the Southeast to make it make sense. But let's go here, the action plan, okay, for Florida State. See if you agree with this. Is this still the action plan for Florida State, is to win in football? Win? Do you still agree that winning in football is absolutely critical for Florida State in the Big Ten?
Listen, I think they're going to get a lot of sympathy for the Mike Norvell situation. Obviously, at the time they gave him that contract extension, the Alabama job was open, and Jimmy Sexton represented all these different coaches and basically used that job to get everybody massive raises and massive guarantees. So I think the win part is maybe not, you'd still like to see them be successful, but if Mike Norvell has another terrible season, I think they might get forgiven, for that. Patience.
This was really coming from the heels of Florida State bringing the lawsuit, squawking, getting all that attention. And over the last year, since they got that ACC settlement number, they've been really quiet.
Well, and I think part of that too is developing relationships. I mean,
yes,
nobody wants a rabble rouser in the conference. So I think by them being quiet, doing things behind the scenes, developing a relationship, I think that plays a lot into it.
Then lastly, increasing research spending. You know a lot about this, Moen.
This is the biggest thing for them. And they did a good job. They went out and they partnered with a local hospital to create a new med center. It'll be a $125 million construction project. But the thing, and I heard it today from somebody else in the Big Ten does not want another Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
They do not want a school who's going to get AAU and then suddenly fall off and lose AAU status. Nebraska announced today that they're doing a $600 million renovation to their football stadium. And somebody at a Big Ten school told me that is ridiculous, that they have not spent that money to get back into the AAU's good graces, that they think that money should be going to academics. So I think, and I've mentioned this before to Florida State fans, I think what they're doing is great right now. I think they need to have a long-term plan and show long-term growth. I think the Big Ten wants to make sure that they're not only in the AAU when they take them, but they stay in the AAU when they come on board.
The relationships part. Can you speak at all to Florida State's relationship with Big Ten? Has that improved over the last 12 months? If there's any information about that at all.
They would not be first choice, but they would be partnered with somebody who is a top choice.
Yep.
And realistically, that's Miami and Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a scoop where you take Miami, Florida State's a travel partner. You grab two. I don't know if we're going to call them blue bloods again. We've had that debate 100 times, but you grab two winning football programs. If Florida State can get AAU again, I said, the next 2 years, see if Florida State and Virginia Tech make it into the AAU. That'll tell you a lot. Because I think that will be horse trading between the SEC and the Big Ten. For the Big Ten to make Virginia Tech AAU, for the SEC to make Florida State AAU. So,
seems like Florida State's in a much better position.
Again, it's been
today.
80 years since the Big Ten admitted somebody who was not an AAU university.
Right.
So
I think that it's safe to say that if Florida State gets AAU status, they will be desired and probably fall into the Big Ten Conference if they don't go to the SEC. Do you agree with that statement?
They're going to be desired by both conferences by getting AAU. Remember, the SEC, outside of Oklahoma, all their recent additions have been AAU universities. Mizzou, Texas A&M, those were all AAU universities. So they want to grow their academic footprint as well. So they want AAU schools that can network within the Southeastern Conference. So getting AAU isn't just about becoming more desirable to the Big Ten. It's about becoming more desirable to the SEC as well.
Yeah, 100%. Increased research spending. You mentioned the medical hospital development of Florida State. They are doing what they can do to get into the AAU. It's going to be a big swing factor for Florida State. But just wanted to go through. You helped me put that together, Moen, last year. and just to see kind of where they were a year ago to where they were today. So look, winning Florida State football didn't have the greatest season. This last year, basketball has been pretty marginal. I guess maybe, I don't know, whatever, right? Football's everything. So if the winning continues, be more patient, get AAU, increase research spending, develop the relationships. That's the ticket into the Big Ten, and there is progress.
Yes, there's progress. And like I said, I did if you guys want to watch it, it's not a members only video. It's available to the public. You can go in there and look at the formula I created. If Florida State got AAU, they would be number 3 on that list behind Notre Dame and North Carolina. It's, the brand, the logic, all of that stuff works in Florida State's favor. It's just not being AAU yet. And
the Florida State Miami combo too.
And again,
are you kidding me if you get those 2?
Yeah. But I mean, you're still going to have to get 2 more. You're still going to either have to get Virginia, North Carolina, Duke, Georgia Tech. You're going to have to get at least 2 more teams in the Southeast.
Georgia Tech's coming along.
Georgia Tech on media market is huge. They do. Again, let me see. We got a $10 super chat from LC versus the Earth. Wouldn't the Big Ten be best served getting the teams they desire from the Southeast first? The Western teams are still going to be there in the future. I 100% agree with you, LC. But first and foremost, Notre Dame's at the center of the stage. If Notre Dame is ready to pull the trigger, join a conference, or even do a scheduling agreement with the Big Ten. If they pull away from the ACC and say, we're going to do that same deal with the Big Ten, the Big Ten would obviously prefer that they join as a full member, but they're not going to turn down the hundreds of millions of dollars that having that agreement with Notre Dame would serve them. And you'd get a return of some great rivalries. You'd get Notre Dame USC. You would get Notre Dame Michigan. You get Notre Dame Michigan State, Notre Dame Purdue. Notre Dame Indiana could become a new rivalry, especially with what Curt Cignetti's doing in Indiana. So Notre Dame may choose to become a conference member. They may choose to just do a scheduling agreement. But I think the Big Ten is always going to check with Notre Dame before they take anybody.
Sure. Yeah, so as far as this goes, Western expansion for the Big Ten is risk mitigation. Southeast expansion for the Big Ten is growth. Western expansion for the Big Ten is to appease USC and the travel concerns. Unless Stanford came along with Notre Dame, and then Stanford's too attractive of a school with the research, with the academics to leave behind. They'd be in. That makes so much sense. But really, any westward expansion isn't necessarily growth related. It is risk mitigation you have to do to protect your investment in LA.
I would disagree with you on growth. There's some markets out there that have got lots of people. Utah is a decent market. ASU, Arizona, decent market. With Georgia Tech, Daniel Gygax brings it up. Georgia Tech doesn't have a medical school in his AAU. Absolutely right. They're one of the best engineering schools in America. They receive so much money in federal grants for engineering, but Georgia Tech's big sell is they're in Atlanta, Georgia. And I understand, and I've had this discussion with people in the comment section this week. I understand that UGA has the fan base there, but that's not even what it's about. It's about getting an anchor there to move the Big Ten network in. If you could get even 50% of the cable packages in Georgia to put the Big Ten network as a regular lineup, you're making $50 million annually just off of that. Doesn't include OTA markets. Doesn't include any other thing. Just getting Big Ten 50% market share for the Big Ten network, $45 to $50 million annually. And 50% market share is a conservative number with how densely populated Atlanta, DeKalb County, all those counties are with cable, satellite, streaming. Don't forget streaming. You got Fox One coming out there now. So, by the way, Georgia Tech.
3 schools. Georgia Tech, Florida State, and Miami would put a huge blow on the SEC. Man, just imagine that, Moan, in SEC territory, who's wanting to expand out of it, but pretty still concentrated in that Southeast corridor where Big Ten's nationwide, going in there, grabbing mega brands. You know what damage that does to the SEC? Like, you're already winning in the versus the SEC because of NIL collective support. We know that. We're seeing it. Imagine if you landed Florida State and Miami, and then you get Georgia Tech too. So you're deep in the South.
You're in the
That
heart of
is
the
a
South,
blow.
and it's
a
also
blow.
it's a recruiting footprint. You get actual. Hey, your family can stay here to watch you play Ohio State.
Right.
And you're right. It gets big market teams like Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC. These teams that you generally don't see play the Florida State and Miami outside of bowl season. Now you're going to see them in the regular season, and that's money. You're basically printing money at that point. The question is, how big does the Big Ten get?
Mm-hmm.
Do they go to 22? Do they go to 24? Virginia and North Carolina have to be answered for. The presidents want Virginia and North Carolina. So,
That's the question.
I mean,
22 or 24.
right. So you've got 5 schools there. You've got Florida State, Miami, Georgia Tech, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, possibly Virginia Tech. I don't think the Big Ten would take Virginia Tech, but
I don't think so either, to be honest.
we'll put it out there. So, I mean, you've got 5 schools with, you're either going to take all 5 of those and only leave 1 slot for out west, or you're going to take 4 of them. So you're going to have to eliminate somebody. And I think you have to get into the state of North Carolina.
I think that from a structural standpoint, like you're right. North Carolina, you have to get in there. You need to get in the state of Florida too. But like from a structural standpoint for the Olympic sports, you have to form pods to make this doable long term. And so can you have a 5-team pod out west with adding Stanford, or do you need a 6-team pod?
Well, the way I could look at it too is you can move Nebraska out west. And that can be the penalty Nebraska pays for not being AAU, that they're going to have more travel. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting questions.
Right.
Again, I tried to put together a formula. I actually ran my formula by 2 people in Big Ten administration, and they seemed to say that they thought that's what the presidents would like as well. They had little changes here and there that they put in, but you know, the formula is the formula. Let me we've still got bibs in here. Fantastic. And here's the formula, the equation, right up here. And if that doesn't make sense to you, you know, market and media, that's going to be a 40% weight. Brand power, when we use the 3-year average Nielsen viewership, so it's the last 3 years, that's going to be 20% of it. And then 10% of it is strategic logic, recruiting footprint, geographic partner.
Uh-huh.
And then you get into research power. 20% is going to go on your R&D. Having an NCI designated cancer center gets you a bonus point, because a lot of money flows into the cancer hospitals in the Big Ten. But you do have the penalty for non-AAU. You lose a 30-year value to the Big Ten. Some people disagree with that number. I actually put it at that. Some people in the Big Ten told me half.
Half of what again?
Half of the value by not having an AAU status.
So they think that's more significant than your model says.
They think it's more significant than my model says.
Mm-hmm.
But tier 1, you get 10 points for a massive new market, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. You get 5 points for large market and existing footprint. That would be Virginia. 2 points for small market, redundant, another school in a state already covered. That'd be like Pitt. You use the viewership floor from the 2025 season. If you're doing greater than 5 million, like Notre Dame does, you're elite. If you're doing strong, like Florida State, even though Florida State was down, their ratings were still good. UNC bounced up last year. A lot of that was the Belichick effect. We'll see if that sticks. That gets you strong. And then you've got solid. You've got Utah. You've got Pitt. And then you've got the research.
Utah gets better rating than Pitt. Come on, man.
They're actually in that same 1 to 3 million average. And then you've got the BTAA currently boasts $17.4 billion in annual research revenue. So we're talking about how much money is in the media package. But look at how much money is raised through the Big Ten Academic Alliance. So your elite was 10 points, 1.2 billion or more in research. Stanford, Johns Hopkins, North Carolina, Duke, all fall in there. Then you have strong 600 to 1.1, and then you get that 5-point bonus for having a cancer center. But look, Notre Dame, market 10. It's a national brand. National brand, they get 10 in market. Brand 10. Perfect score. Logic 10. It exists within the Big Ten's footprint. Research, they're at 8 in research. They did get into the AAU. I don't think that was an accident. Score 38. Go to UNC. Market 10. Huge new market. Brand 7. Logic 8. Research 12. And they're in the AAU. Virginia 8, 5, 8, 12, 33. And then you've got Stanford here. You look at Stanford and it says market 5. You'd say, well, you're getting the Bay Area, but you've already got 2 schools in California.
Right.
So it's a redundancy in the marketplace. So it's only going to be 5. The brand's only 6. The logic's only 6. It's saving grace's research. They score perfect 15 in research. Georgia Tech, market 10. You've got the number 7 DMA. It's projected Atlanta's DMA will be in top 4 within the next 10 years. That's how much growth we have going on in Central Georgia at the moment. So a lot of that's market. Their brand is 4. It's not a great brand. Logic makes sense. If you're moving into the Southeast, you need Southeastern travel partners. Georgia Tech. And they do 10 in research. But we go down here and we see Kansas, Cal, Utah. They're all in the same vein. Florida State's sitting here at 22.7. If they're AAU, this number jumps up to 34 and puts them right between UNC and UVA. That's why Florida State needs to get in the AAU. Absolutely has to. They would become extremely valuable to the Big Ten if they could get AAU. And we'll be honest, the AAU is a boys club. It always has been. It's always about more who you know than what you know. So I think that's going to be the question because we don't know. The AAU doesn't have a fixed schedule on when they add people. It's just, hey, they come out and they say, hey, the AAU has added these schools or removed these schools. But, you know, they came out last time in Notre Dame and Miami and, you know, all these schools suddenly become AAU. It's going to be interesting to see if in the next 2 years, and that's the time frame I'm putting on it, the next 2 years of Florida State and Virginia Tech become AAU. Because I think Virginia probably is leaning towards the Big Ten now. I think the SEC still needs to get into Virginia, would take Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech actually beats Virginia on brand. So the SEC would like Virginia Tech to be AAU. I think the Big Ten would like Florida State to be AAU. So I think you're going to get some horse trading there. Because AAU members decide who gets to become AAU.
Looking at the breakdown, so Duke is sitting at 29, but they've got a 5-point deduction in market because UNC has a 10, and they're above them in this chart.
Yes.
So if UNC goes to the SEC, then add 5 more points to Duke, and they're at 34.
Yes, Duke would go up.
They're the second on this list.
Yeah. But the thing is, you got to remember too, is we're not penalizing private schools here. The Big Ten has traditionally, the Big Ten only has 2 private schools right now, Northwestern and USC. The Big Ten has traditionally preferred large public universities. So UNC is going to be favored over Duke, even though Duke does more research. UVA is going to be favored over Duke. Georgia Tech would probably be favored over Duke. Duke is going to be hurt by that private school designation, but if they whiff on North Carolina, and you know, somebody brought it up earlier in the chat, North Carolina and North Carolina State may have to be a package deal, and the Big Ten's not going to do that. The Big Ten is not going to take 2 schools in North Carolina.
No one's taking 2 schools in North Carolina.
The SEC might have to.
Not either.
I think the SEC might have to.
Why would they have to?
Because I think they want to stay in their geographic footprint, and I think they want to get into North Carolina that desperately. I think they might take both North Carolina and North Carolina State to get in. If Virginia goes to the Big Ten, Virginia Tech goes to the SEC, I could see the Virginia legislatures just, you know, saying, okay, that's fine, but here's a 50-year contract to play our rivalry game, Virginia Tech. But I don't know how North Carolina is going to shake out. So, big question.
I think it's pretty easy to see it, to be honest with you. 2 years ago, we were talking about how much pressure would be on North Carolina and the in-state government if North Carolina started nuking like massive deficits and they're falling behind major in their financial support. That's happening right now. The pressure is building right now to say this is not sustainable. The more that pressure builds, the easier, the lighter that backpack gets, because you can't have both schools just die. One needs to survive. And so I think it's pretty easy. Just time will basically take care of itself. NC State's not getting in the SEC or the Big Ten. No, it's not happening, man. I'm telling you. Virginia Tech's not getting in either, man. No, they aren't. They're not getting in either of them. They're going to the Big 12. Both.
No, I think Virginia Tech does make it into one of the Power 2. I think the SEC needs to get in Virginia, and Virginia is leaning to Big Ten. You take Virginia Tech, and it's a better brand for the SEC, I think, than University of Virginia. Obviously, they'd love to have UVA because it's old money. They'd love to have that, but in terms of football brand, Virginia Tech's a better football brand than Virginia.
Sure.
So I think Virginia Tech makes more sense for the SEC if they can get AAU status, because, I mean, Virginia Tech is no slouch when it comes to research. They are 10. It's like, that it's over 1.2 billion in research out of Virginia Tech. They're in a smaller market. They're in Blacksburg. They don't, have the same reach towards DC that Charlottesville does, but, for the SEC, I think Virginia Tech's a slam dunk. You get into the state of Virginia. How important is North Carolina to you? If UNC is important to you, UNC has the leverage right now. They could basically dictate, okay, we'll go to the SEC, but you have to take North Carolina State.
I just don't see Texas agreeing to something like that.
Again, how desperately do you want UNC? That's the question.
It's a nice to have, not a need to have.
Here's the thing. Notre Dame. If the Big Ten's desperate enough for Notre Dame, they would take Cal and Stanford. Is the SEC desperate enough for North Carolina where they would take North Carolina State?
Desperate's a relative term. Desperate. So you're telling me that the Big Ten's desperate. The Big Ten's dominating everything. You're making more money than you can count. How are you desperate in any way? How is the SEC desperate in any way right now? And what in the world would North Carolina and NC State do for your financial position? Nothing. And I get you want to add that state and stuff because of the growth and the value, but when you double down, you reduce value, you erode value.
I don't disagree with you, but I think North Carolina carries enough value for both of these conferences. Again, I don't think the Big Ten would take North Carolina State as a package. I think if you're the SEC and the Big Ten gets Virginia, I think North Carolina has enough leverage to get North Carolina State into the SEC. And that's my
Virginia.
That's pure opinion and pure speculation on my part, but look at the numbers for North Carolina. 10 in market, 7 in brand, 8 in logic, 12 in research, AAU, which we know the SEC likes as well, just 1 point shy of Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And Duke is very impressive too. To me, Duke's much more of a real P2 candidate than NC State.
I agree. Like I'm saying, I'm in North Carolina State. Here's North Carolina State on the map. 7-6, 7-7. It's okay. Again, if North Carolina State gets AAU, they're going to move up. They're not going to move up to the top, but they're going to be more in the strong category with Kansas, Cal, Utah, Florida State, Pitt, Arizona, ASU. So the question is, can North Carolina State get into the AAU? I doubt it. I don't think that they're ready yet, looking at their research numbers. But, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, I don't have an answer for you. I can just tell you my speculation. At this point, I think the Big Ten's probably taking Virginia. I think if North Carolina fights hard enough, they're probably going to get the Wolfpack back in the SEC with them. And the SEC will grab Virginia Tech and then +1. I don't think the SEC is going to grab Kansas. I just don't. I think they would probably take Clemson for the brand, and you would have Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, Clemson as your additions to a 20-team SEC.
Brand erosion.
You're getting a brand with Clemson, and you're getting two new states with North Carolina State, and Virginia Tech. And you remain the Southeastern Conference. You remain in your geographic footprint.
Yeah. No,
if you're the Big Ten,
well turn out that way.
If you're the Big Ten, it's going to be dependent on how big you're going. If you take Notre Dame and take Virginia, that leaves 2 spots to go to 22. Which could be Georgia Tech, Miami, Florida State, Miami, Duke, Miami, somewhere in there. But if you go to 24, again, I don't know that they go back out west. I don't know that they go back out west. I think they may focus on the Southeast.
You grab Stanford, though, right?
Yeah, you would take Stanford in a heartbeat. Just the sheer money that Stanford would bring to the Big Ten Academic Alliance would probably raise everybody's research numbers by at least $200 million annually.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the same with Duke. I mean, Duke would probably raise not quite as much as Stanford, but it would raise everybody's R&D revenue by being part of the Big Ten Academic Alliance and the Cancer Research Consortium, because they both have cancer hospitals. But yeah, I mean, if you're going out west, you're taking Notre Dame. Notre Dame's probably going to ask for Stanford. The question is going to be with Stanford, does Stanford want to give up all that money? Because Stanford would actually lose money joining the Big Ten Academic Alliance. Right now, they can hoard it all to themselves.
Well, the ACC won't exist anymore, so where are they going to park their sports? The ACC won't exist like it is today with the brands that they're associated with.
Yeah, they would park them in the Pac-12 or somewhere there. But, I mean, the rumor is Stanford had an opportunity to join the Big Ten, but they did not want to leave the Ivy League public library system. So they didn't want to give up that money. But if you're wondering, on my scorecard, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Virginia, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Duke, Miami are your elite teams. Florida State gets AAU status. They are up there. Virginia Tech gets AAU status. They're barely outside of it in here with Kansas, Cal, Utah. But Utah, 5-5-5. It's a 5 market, 5 brand, 5 logic. Research, you get 8, but you got 5 of those points because you've got the Huntsman Cancer Center on campus.
Which is world-renowned, yeah.
Which is world-renowned. But Kansas's cancer center is actually top 2% designation, which significantly helps them in research. Like I said, if Kansas did not have that hospital, their research would be at a 3.
Yeah. I just think that is going to be a little bit more defensive. Like I said before, I think that expansion, if you take Stanford, then maybe you can hedge all that travel concern. To me, that's really what it's all about. If it's coming down to Cal, Kansas, and the Utah, then like, what's the best travel situation for the West Coast members and everybody else too? Because you hear about it a lot. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger as the travel issues for USC, UCLA, especially in the Olympic sports. You have to protect your investment. You can't just leave those 4 on an island in a world away. And right now, that's the case. Over time, it's going to become a bigger and bigger deal. If you had Stanford as one more West Coast school, maybe that cures it. If you pod that, you have to pod that.
If you go to 20, if you go to 24, what makes the most sense are 4 pods of 6. But
Sure.
you can also do 6 pods of 4.
But you don't cure the issue as much. You still have to travel a bunch.
That's,
I said you're playing 3 teams in your pod.
Yeah. You're still going to
You
have
just
to
need
travel,
more
but
teams, more games in a pod.
Yeah,
That's always what I'm coming back to. And that's where it's like, you can add Stanford, you could add Cal, you could add ASU, U of A, Utah. Kansas doesn't cure or help that issue at all. Kansas is right next to your legacy Big Ten. That doesn't help that situation.
I don't disagree. But I think Kansas is more of a Big Ten, traditional Big Ten school.
Yeah.
Than
I
a
guess
West
like
Coast school.
what I think after all of the time and thought into this is the logistical issue of protecting investment in LA is going to become bigger than people talk about. And you solve that by Stanford, Utah, Cal, probably one of those, 2 of those maybe.
I think
you get 16 pod.
Right. I think whatever happens with Notre Dame is going to determine who gets picked out west.
Right. Yeah.
I think Utah also gets hurt from their association with USC.
Really?
I think USC, and somebody mentioned it in the chat, backing out of that private equity deal. I think that pissed a lot of people in the Big Ten off. But and I'm not saying USC was wrong. I think USC should have been up there with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. But they also had being the young man in the room, so they had that factor going for them. But I don't know. I think if Notre Dame comes along and says we want Stanford and Cal, that's who you're getting. You're getting the Pac-6 back in action. You're not getting Utah. You're not getting Colorado. You're not getting either of the Arizonas. And yeah, that makes it harder logistically for travel. It does. You don't have a stopover.
But you at least pod that, right? Like you create a 16 pod on the West Coast. That structurally makes sense for long-term investment into your West Coast. Like even that scenario, even adding 2, even adding Cal and Stanford, that does it. So that cures a huge problem for Olympic sports. That's why I've always thought it comes down to Utah and Cal, though. That's why I always go back to that. I think Stanford's in, but it's going to come down to Utah or Cal for the last spot.
Amazing Blue says, I think Utes' hearts breaking that the Big isn't looking at Utah. The Big is looking at Utah. I can tell you that undoubtedly that Utah is in the hunt. Just my opinion, I don't think Utah is the call.
That's fair.
Becky Go Husky says, it's good to see you, Becky. It's all moot. SMU is donating their entire endowment to the Big Ten to join. SMU will bring Tarleton State with them. Yep, I think that's the best pair. Jared Jones said Stanford and Utah would be perfect. There you go. There's a vote of confidence. Michael Smith, he's a Notre Dame guy. He says they certainly stopped funding Olympic programs. They already tried to cut 11 sports 2 years ago. Yeah, Stanford has a lot of Olympic sports. A lot. Yogi Buck says North Carolina State has no medical school. They're not getting AAU. They're not Georgia Tech. I don't disagree with you. I don't think they're getting AAU either. I think there's a reach. I think you can compromise on Virginia Tech and Florida State. Does the Big Ten actually want Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami? If they could get all three of those schools tomorrow, they would trip over themselves trying to get the pen and the contract together. Like Tony Petitti would fly out and hold the pen in his butt cheeks and sign the contract to get those three teams into the Big Ten.
That's the dream three right there.
That is three that would just absolutely crush in terms of media money. Now, Florida State not being AAU, that's still going to be a problem, but I think Florida State's going to make AAU here in the next 2 to 3 years. Tempest Moen, would the Big want more with basketball because Duke and UNC are the best picks? Again, my rationale and what I put in my Biv scale, it's weighted towards football 75 to 25. Football represents 75% of the value, and every other sport represents the other 25.
That's generous too.
I agree. So, let me see here. Bulldog Mississippi agrees with me. He says Virginia Tech and the two NCC schools, it's just politics, man. I'll tell you what, let's end it tonight. You make your shot, make your call. Speculation. Nobody knows. Well, we got one a super chat here first. Let me get this super chat. Again, another generous super chat from LC versus the Earth, the Trojan Nittany Lion. If Notre Dame joins and insists on Cal and Stanford, who are the other three?
Okay. Florida State, Georgia Tech, Duke.
Miami, Virginia,
Miami,
and probably Florida State. Assuming it depends on when Notre Dame joins. Assuming Florida State has AAU status by that point, I think you would take Miami, Florida State, Virginia.
Yeah, Miami's then. So Duke would probably be out. Florida State, Miami, Georgia Tech.
It's hard to tell because do you double down in Florida? When you could possibly get a Georgia or a North Carolina school.
I would rather be in Florida than North Carolina.
I think I tend to agree with you. We're positive Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Penn State, Indiana, Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, Iowa, etc. want to make it even more difficult to make the playoffs. Same with the SEC adding Clemson, Florida State. Again, this is where we come into a 2014 playoff.
Yeah, right.
Losses will not matter as much. UNC, Duke, UVA. I don't think they take both. You're either taking UNC or you're taking Duke. And I think UNC has got that backpack on them. Thanks everybody for the comments and the super chats. Before we go, you want to make your final calls on the situation of what you think who lands where?
I just think that here's my take, and I'm very confident about this. I think there will be two schools that get added out west, despite what most talk about, and it's not necessarily growth driven. It is risk mitigation, security to protect investment consideration to form a 6-team pod. I'm very confident of that, actually. And so, growth doesn't matter at all if you lose one of your best investments in USC because you disgruntle them. USC is a better brand than anybody we're talking about. You have to protect your house, and you need to add more infrastructure out west.
Okay, but who are the teams out west?
It's going to be between Cal, Stanford, and Utah. 2 of the 3
Okay.
get in.
And who do you got in the southeast?
Yeah, we hit on that too. I think that the Big Ten goes to 24 teams. So you go 2 out west. So you've got 4 teams down in the southeast, and you go Florida State, Miami, Georgia Tech, Duke.
Well, you got to take one of those out because you've got Notre Dame in there as well.
Notre Dame. So
yeah, you've only got 3 in the southeast.
So then you go remove Duke.
Okay. I say you're only going to put 1 team out west, and I think that team is Stanford if they want it. If they don't want it, it's Cal. And then I think you're going to add Notre Dame, and that leaves you 4 teams, and you're taking Virginia, Miami, Florida State, and probably Duke over Georgia Tech.
What? Since when, Moan?
I think Duke. I think you need to get into North Carolina. I think if you're the Big Ten, you really need to get into North Carolina.
What about this Atlanta discussion?
I agree.
This Atlanta discussion.
I don't disagree. It's a tough choice for me. I'd put them at 1A, 1B for the last one in. Either Duke or Georgia Tech, because I don't think they're getting North Carolina. So they're either going to have to take Duke or they're going to have to take Georgia Tech. Now, Duke has options. Duke could go play in the Ivy League if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to thank everybody.
Virginia's going to go to the SEC too. I still think so.
We'll see.
It's weird combo to add Virginia to the Big Ten. Weird. It's weird without North Carolina.
We're probably all going to be wrong, guys. So just take that with a grain of salt that we're all going to be wrong and it's going to be something completely wacky. But I want to thank Amazing Blues, Greg Flugar, Mark Bowman, LC versus the Earth, especially. Lots of super chats from him tonight. I appreciate it. And he always leaves a super thanks on my Moan Confidential videos. I appreciate that too, LC versus the Earth. Evil Badger, Ryan, I hope you are feeling better and the antibiotics are working. Bulldog Mississippi, who gifted five memberships to the College Football Mafia family. Then we had Hollywood Caden, who's been a member for 4 months and left a couple super chats. Good to see Caden the Diesel Freak doing the heel turn as Hollywood Caden. And then we had Go Black with a super chat, and he gifted 1 membership to the College Football Mafia family. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Next show will be Sunday night, Moan After Dark. Until then, for myself, for you, for Nate, thanks for tuning in on a big freaking Friday, and we will catch you guys next week.